10 people who were frozen in time. Hello YouTube, ever wondered what it's like to get frozen in time? First, who's familiar with the Grey's Anatomy scene where Miss Grey got punched into a river and almost froze in time? The ghost of her beloved friends in resuscitation that seemed fruitless? I dare you to watch these real-life people finding themselves in such circumstances. But don't get too crazy, as there's no ghost stories like Miss Grey's. Number 10. La doncella. Culture is a beautiful piece of tradition, as it's fulfilling and brings out the beauty in our differences. Well, at least most of the time. How about when you find out that your people are about to turn you into a sacrifice? That was the unfortunate fate of 3 children among the Inca community whose mummies are well preserved. The hair on the mummies create a vivid picture of the capaconche practice that used mind-altering drugs to sacrifice these children. There's claims that the rituals must have taken close to a year before their ultimate destination was death. They used a condition of coca and alcohol to drug them to their demise. What a freaky way to be taken out, yikes. Number 9. Erika Nordby. If you're a mom, you know how annoying it is when you'd like a few extra minutes of sleep, but your toddler's up. They begin to demand food or whatever they please, and you have to oblige. Such mornings are usually a dread. Erika's mom, however, lived to tell a different story. She woke up rather late and wondered how she'd been able to clock in more sleep time. Wondering if her baby was occupied with play or some other form of disruption, she got up to find her. She looked everywhere in her house, but her little girl was nowhere in sight. She panicked and went to check outside, and she couldn't believe it when she found the frozen body of her daughter outside. Scared out of her mind, she wrapped a couple of blankets over her and waited for paramedics. I know the 21st of February 2001 will forever remain marked in Leila's mind. Luckily, the doctors were able to resuscitate her, and a few days later, she was back to the ways of any 1-year-old. Number 8. Anna Bagenholm. We all like to try a little adventure, get out of our comfort zone and partake in a few fun activities. Something like what Anna Bagenholm and her 2 colleagues were up to when this unfortunate incident occurred. In May 1999, this group of friends set out to go skiing on the Kjole mountain in Norway. They've been having a good time when their somber mood was interrupted by an accident. The ice under Anna's feet broke, and the icy water had taken her in. Her friends had tried to rescue her, but were only able to get a hold of her feet. Her whole body was under the ice. She tried to free herself and come back up, but she was stuck. A little air bubble she'd found in the water was the only thing that kept her alive for longer. After some time, she stopped fighting. She was retrieved almost 1 hour and a half later by a rescue team, and a year later, she had made remarkable progress back to normal. Number 7. Eva Wiznerska. Paragliding seems like a cool hobby to adopt and enjoy, but don't add it to your list just yet. You need to know some scary things that could happen while you're many feet above the ground, like getting frozen in the air. Eva Wiznerska learned this the hard and cold way when she got frozen in February 2007. This happened during her training while looking forward to participating in the paragliding Olympics. She was moving over to Manila in Australia when she got caught up in a storm. The storm was so strong that she got sucked into the clouds. In just 15 minutes, she was moved from an altitude of 2,500 feet to 32,000 feet. If that's not bad enough, she was rained on and hit by hailstones larger than a good-sized lemon. She was in and out of consciousness as the temperatures dropped to negative 50 degrees and the air became too thin. When she came to an hour later, she was unable to save herself as her hands were frozen. She was brick solid when she finally landed, but this miraculous lady only spent an hour in the hospital before she was fine and healthy, apart from a few frostbites here and there. Number 6. Justin Smith. It's an age-old tradition to go out to a bar and drink to commemorate a lost mate. Beer can help reduce the pain of death and make us remember the good moments. However, don't chug too much. Justin Smith is one of the many who had a bit too much after the funeral and almost ended up joining his buddy. Justin and a couple of friends headed out to a bar to drown some of their sorrows. Seems like he had a bit too much as he either fell or just opted to sleep out in the snow later that night. His friends called his dad the following morning, but he also had no clue where his whereabouts were, so they went to search for him. They didn't look too far as they found their son's body curled up close by their house. The paramedic arrived a little later after 7:30 a.m. Everyone thought he was dead, but it seems like this guy had a pocket full of luck as he escaped death again. First from the car crash that had killed his mate, and now he's alive and well from freezing. The only thing he suffered was amputation of some fingers and toes, and was in a coma for about 13 days. So how old is your version of the Sleeping Beauty? How about we jog up that memory? Number 5. Sleeping Beauty. Rosalia Lombardo was a 2-year-old who died from pneumonia. His father was so heartbroken that he vowed to preserve her body forever. He hired someone who would mix up some herbs and ensure that she continued to live on. When you see a picture of the little girl's face, you wouldn't believe that she's real. Her skin is still as fresh as she was born, and she endows a beautiful set of hair. Having passed away in 1920, many have claimed that her body's just a wax modification, but scientists have proven otherwise. She looks so gentle and sweet that she was nicknamed the Sleeping Beauty. Make sure you like and subscribe to avoid a year full of bad luck. Number 4. Mitsutaka Uchikawa. A failed attempt at climbing Mount Rocco led Mitsutaka Uchikawa to get lost. He'd been lost for over 20 days before a group of climbers found his body. This man is a sign that our bodies are insanely powerful, that despite being lost for so many days, his body hadn't frozen. Apparently, his body had fallen into unconsciousness as if trying to preserve his life. He became the first man to ever survive a low body temperature of 22 degrees Celsius for such an amount of time. After he was rescued, doctors who observed him said that he'd suffered severe blood loss and had a couple of organ failures. He lived to tell his story after all that. And who knew that human hibernation was a thing? I certainly didn't. Number 3. Vladimir Lenin. If you're a fan of seeing dead bodies, then you should take a trip to Russia. There, you'll find the body of the revolutionary politician Vladimir Lenin. He still looks as fresh today as the day he breathed his last in January 1924. This is a result of an embalming elixir by scientists and the good cold Russian weather. This leader will continue to live on just as long as the Russian citizens keep paying for his treatment. And with that, it's now time for today's best pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber, so if you come across a photo online and you want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. David Blaine. I didn't know that people would consent to being frozen alive. That sounds insane. Unless maybe you go by the name of David Blaine. The renowned magician casually ripped his heart out on a live streaming show. Are there no boundaries to how far magic goes? Anyway, David Blaine thought it was cool to entertain his fans by demanding that he be put in an ice coffin and set up in the middle of town. He had many spectators who came to watch how his magic trick would end. He stayed there for 36 hours and was hacked out by his crew when the time elapsed. He seemed to be okay while his team wrapped him in towels and blankets. The medics checked him out, and he was in top shape, with his only complaint being leg cramps. I'm not so sure I believe this whole show about Mr. David Blaine. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works. And number 1, Stella Bernsen. In 2010, amid Christmas preparation, Stella noticed that their 7-year-old daughter was missing in the Christmas action. Her mom, not so alarmed, went to check for her because many 7-year-olds get bored and opt out of family activities. She couldn't find her, and continued with the preparation, hoping that she'd come out of her hiding spot. After a long while, Stella hadn't been seen and her parents were now going crazy. Her dad went outside and saw footmarks in the snow. He followed them to the edge of a cliff. He was almost sure that his daughter had fallen over. He got down the cliff only to see more footprints on the river. The situation was moving from bad to worse. His daughter had drowned somewhere in that river. The rescue team, neighbors, and a fisherman helped in the search, only to find the little girl frozen 3 hours later. She was at 13 degrees body temperature when she was airlifted to the hospital. She lives to date with no memory of the accident or the recovery that followed.